Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Headstrong Podcast. It's Danielle Mills here. I'm super excited because I'm with somebody who's so important to me, none other than my Aunt Sharon Mills. She's a top producing real estate agent and she's taught me so much about life, gratitude, and just living a life of gratitude. So welcome.
Thank you, Danielle. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy for you guys all to meet her because not only has, from the young age, like I've always really looked up to her because she was always so positive and so uplifting, but she's somebody that just means so much to me. So I wanted to ask you, this kind of gratitude mindset, growth mindset that you have, where do you think it really stems from? Is this something that you always had?
Danielle, people have asked me that question all my life. And as far back as I can remember, and even my mom will say, even as a little child, I was always that person, that child looking for the positive side to things. She said I was always happy, never really in a grumpy mood, and I always saw what we call now, always saw the rainbow. And even before I was old enough to even know what a rainbow truly was. And I truly, although I wish I could take credit for that, I truly have to give full credit to God. And everyone who knows me knows that that is truly the foundation of who I am. And I feel that he just gave me the heart to care for people, love people. And it has always just been a blessing for me in my life. And so I think as I grew older, knowing what that felt like to always see the positive, is just something that I kept nurturing. And it has worked for me all my life.
What have you found through being so positive? Like, how has that affected, your success? And, has it really made a huge impact just having this positive mindset?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are so many stories that I could share, but again, even as a child, in school, when I was in 6th grade, there was an assembly and I was just being me. Like I always cared for the underdog. I always cared about the kid that was struggling. If somebody was struggling with their homework, I always wanted to be that person to be able to help them. And again, that came from just me not wanting to see people sad and just realizing when you were kind to other people, or if that child was struggling with math, that I would say, I'll stay to my teacher. I'll stay after school and help him. Like that was just something I wanted everybody to feel good about life and feel good about themselves. And it just brought me so many successes. And I was saying in 6th grade, I did not realize it, but they gave a citizenship award. And I remember my parents getting dressed to come to school, and they said they had to go to school for something. And I'm thinking, am I in trouble? And they didn't tell me. And we had this big assembly. And with the assembly, there was one girl and one boy in our school who got this award. And it was a citizenship award, and it was me. And so I was just so touched. I was shocked, first of all, when they called my name, but I was so touched. And that has happened to me so many times in life, that I have been recognized just for doing what I do. Not the intent of wanting the recognition, but people see when you make other people feel good. People see when you are a helper. I'm not a jealous type person. I'm not an envious type person. And I could never really understand where that came from in people, and even and I had a friend tell me once, well, the only reason you feel that way is because, there are not many of our friends that have more than what you have. And that was so untrue. And I tell you, in life, there are a lot of people who don't have what I have, but it didn't matter. If I had $1, I was going to share that $1. And if you had 10, I wasn't mad about your 10. And I just think gratitude, being in a place of graciousness and caring, truly caring about people and living that, treating others the way you want to be treated versus how you are treated. It has just worked for me all my life. And it has just been a blessing in everything that I've attempted.
No, absolutely. I know a lot of the listeners who are on right now may be a little confused, like, how do they start a life of gratitude? What does it look like? What are some daily practices that you do that have really given you a lot of results and made you feel great along the way?
Okay. First of all, I think every day waking up and finding something to be thankful for. One thing that I've always said, God is an amazing God in that he was wise enough to make every day 24 hours. Imagine if every day had been 36 hours. So, we have a day and, you do something wrong or you hurt somebody or your day didn't go quite the way you expected it to go. I always say, thank you, God, that in 24 hours, when you go to sleep and wake up, every day starts new. Every day, you don't have to carry what happened yesterday into your today. And most people do. Most people go to sleep. And God, again, giving us that time of rest for us to heal our bodies, to heal our minds. You know what? If I hurt somebody's feelings, if you hurt somebody's feelings, if you didn't hit your quota for the day, then that next day, guess what? When you wake up, you get to decide what quota you're going to hit. You get to decide how you're going to right that wrong. And to me, wake up every day in gratitude, thanking God, not only for what happened yesterday or the lesson that I could have learned from yesterday, but more importantly, Lord, order my steps for today. And so for me, I wake up every day and I always say, and my friends know I say this, I have a friend who used to call me at 7 o'clock every morning, and that's my devotion time. And I said to my friend, I said, you know what? Can you push that call back to 7:30? Because they wanted to call me before they started. Could you push that call back to 7:30? And I said, and really I would have said 8, but I like to get my workday started. So I said 7:30. So I actually adjusted the time that I get up because it was important for me to talk to them. So I actually adjusted the time that I get up because my saying is, I want to talk to God before I talk to anybody. And that's where I get up. I get out of my bed, I get on my knees, and I love that the scripture, lay your plans before the Lord and they will succeed. And I really dedicate my day. God, you know the person that I am to meet. Let my life make a difference every day, like whether it be a smile or a kind word, just help me to do the things that you want me to do today. And certainly with all of us, Danielle, we have a plan for our own lives. And you work, and some people, they think, oh, that's like all new age or whatever, but it really isn't, because although I have a plan for my life and I know which customers I have to see, God knows those additional people that I need to see. And starting my day in the right place, like thanking him for what I already have, thanking him for what's going to transpire into my day, for all the good that's going to come to me. I really feel that is very impactful with how I show up for my customers. Right. Yes. And so if I start out a day and I'm not having a good day, sometimes that can transfer over to my customers. But every experience, the majority that I have are just positive. And that's something that my customers always say, where did you get your confidence? We love your attitude. Like, you're always smiling. And I remember years ago when I was younger, people thinking that was fake. And I remember crying once in my 20s because somebody said, she's so fake. She's so fake. Who's happy all the time? She's always smiling. And I remember I was probably 20 years old. And I remember going home and just crying over that. Like how could somebody take somebody's sincerity? And what I realized is most people didn't have the joy that I had. No. And so I had a decision to make. Was I going to cry and then now hide my light in order so that other miserable people could feel good and they thought I was fake? And for me, I had to take a stand and to say, because I'm telling you, I literally thought, you know what, go in the room and be less noticeable, or just, be a woman of few words. And that's just not who I am. And so I really had a conversation with myself and with God. And when he says we are to love everybody and how we are to live our lives, I remember at that moment having a choice to make. Either I can let the negativity set in, or I can be the only positive person in the world. And if I'm the only positive person in the world, then I'm going with it, because this feels better than talking about people and being miserable and just being negative. And when I looked at how my life was laying out versus how some of the people who were sitting back being jealous and envious, how their lives looked, there's a reason they have time to worry about my happiness. I'm so happy doing what I'm doing. I don't have time to worry about what somebody else's life is doing or what they should be doing. I said, if I could pass on a happy pill to people to show them when you truly honor God and honor the person next to you and just be kind, it all comes back to you.
Wow.
Without a doubt, it comes back to you.
No, absolutely. You said a lot of things there that I want to touch on because that was really impactful. But one thing that you said really made me think of a story, or not just a story, but a life lesson that you taught me. And that is throughout your life, when you're walking around encountering people, make sure you smile at them. Make sure that you give them a smile. And even if they're not happy, give that back to them, because that might cause them to be happy and smile back to you. And I remember, even at a young age, you saying that and doing it and seeing the light in people's eyes when that happens. And when you're talking about, people were saying that, maybe this was something fake. No, absolutely not. This is truly how you are within. And I share that with a lot of our listeners, the power of smiling and just having that energy, because that energy comes back to you. So can you speak about, maybe a time where maybe you weren't so happy, or maybe a time where you were going through maybe an obstacle or some adversity? I know a lot of our listeners would like to hear kind of how your mind works and how you worked through that.
So I'll have to answer that in two ways,
Okay.
Because one, and I like the question, because you said when you were less happy. One thing I have to say is I always find happiness. So I can't say, I would rather not say that I was less happy. Maybe I would say that a time when I was very challenged about something. Okay. And the only reason I say that is because when your joy is truly inside, there are a few things that can take it, right? Life situations that we've gone through. And that's something, again, friends used to say, a friend said to me once, you've never gone through anything, so you can be happy. Well, I have gone through things. I've gone through divorce. I started perfect example, even if we talk about my real estate career.
Yeah.
I started my real estate career in 2006, and I got licensed in January. And then signed up with a real estate company in June. Well, by this time, and the market was booming in 2006. And by the time I signed up with a company, the market started declining. So that was a very crucial time, because I put a lot of money into marketing. And if there was ever a time to quit, it would have been then. I'm this new real estate agent. We are now hitting a market a depressed market like we've never seen. Many agents pulled out, and they said, you know what, we'll come back when things get better. And everybody has a choice to make. Everybody has it's not right or wrong, right? I'm the person who says, okay, I've got adversity. And it doesn't matter if it's adversity in my personal life, if it's adversity in business, if it's adversity in health. I take a situation and say, this is what I'm being dealt. How do I want to face this issue? What do I want to do to get through it? Do I want it to overtake me? Or am I just going to hunker down and do what has to be done? So it is so crucial to have flexibility and to not expect life to be perfect, and to not to expect yourself to be perfect. And so when you allow yourself the freedom to know and truly have the understanding that life is never going to be perfect, but you know what, you make the adjustments to make it as perfect as possible for you. And that's something, if I'm faced with a challenge, I've got two choices: give up, or what can I do to overcome this challenge? And I've always been the person, what can I do to overcome this challenge? I went through a divorce, as you know, after 30 years, went through a divorce. Even the way we structured that and handled that, we walked in peace and stayed amicable when a lot of people would not have.
Right.
That's a conscious choice, right? It was a conscious choice to stay in real estate. It was a conscious choice when, someone does something to hurt you and affect you. And certainly I've been hurt in my life. It is again, that every day, that waking up, what do I want this day to be? Do I want to carry that hurt into the next several months? Or do I want to start here? And as Joel Osteen says, bloom where I'm planted. And something that, when I look at it from a very simple aspect, something that I always think of, and even in the Bible, you reap what you sow. Like there are so many sayings and scriptures that if we would just live by it, it would catapult us in life, right? And so you reap what you sow. If you sow joy, you find joy. If you sow peace, you find peace. If you sow love, you find love. If you sow hate, you get hate. If you sow envy, you get envy. If you sow jealousy, you get jealousy. You know, you can't plant corn and get peas.
Nope.
You can't do it. You know, you can't plant potatoes and get tomatoes. So it's what you plant in your garden that's going to determine what you get out of it. And so for work life, for gratitude and all of that, if you move one step beyond the planting, and we look at, if you plant tomatoes and you know, and you're expecting tomatoes, you'll get tomatoes maybe, but guess what? You've got to water the tomatoes. You've got to water. So the planting is not enough. You've got to water. And so what you water your plants with, your fresh water, if we take alcohol and water our plants with alcohol, they're dead. They're going to die. Right? You know, if we water our plants with Clorox, they're going to die. If you water your plants, so what you put in to yourself, if we even think of ourselves as plants, what we put in, that's what we're going to get out. And so for me, to go back to your question of gratitude is a must. Like, if you can't find anything else to be thankful for, be thankful that you woke up. Be thankful to God that, you know what, your body knows to keep breathing, and we don't have to remind ourselves, because we all get distracted. Imagine if we had to remind ourselves to take a breath, right? God is he is taking care of so many things so that we can take care of other things. But the most crucial thing, and especially in today with all that we're going through, the most crucial thing is living consciously. So many people go through life living unconsciously. You get up, you brush your teeth. And I was telling a friend once to, if you really think about it, because she said, you know, that's so easy to say, you know, that every day is 24 hours and you just leave what's behind. It's not that you leave it. You know what happened the day before. But if we all think about it, think about this. When we wake up with a clean slate. But it's when, let's say you go to bed and you're mad at your husband, or you're mad at your boyfriend, or you're mad at your girlfriend, right? When we wake up, that is a new day. But what happens is we get our shower and we're brushing our teeth, and your brain is pretty clear for the most part for that day. Your brain is pretty for the start of the day. And what we do as we're brushing, yeah, I can't believe Danielle said that to me. You know, and so we're picking up everything that happened, you know, and I am still so mad at her about that, you know, and yesterday, I can't believe that client said what they said, you know, and I can't believe this, and I can't believe her attitude, and I can't believe this person didn't invite. We pull all of that back in.
That's feeding the negativity.
It's feeding the negativity, and it's pulling it back in, because if we chose to just not even, you know what, whatever happened yesterday, focus on what's happening today, it's amazing that it just doesn't sit there. We have to keep putting it back. And that's what we do in the mornings. And that's why I say living consciously, because that's living unconsciously. Because you just pick up all the trash that could have been thrown out. We just pick it back up because we don't replace it with something else.
Oh, that's really powerful that you say living consciously, because I know something that I say a lot with my listeners is being very intentional about your life, and being intentional about, you know, the actions that you take and the mindset that you have. But I feel like being conscious is a little bit similar to that, but I really like that.
Yeah.
No, that's really good.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about real estate, because I'm so inspired from what you've done with real estate. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, what attributes a lot of your success? I know you talk a lot about having really good relationships with people. Like, how would you correlate the relationships you build with your clients to the success that you've had over the years?
Okay. Danielle, as you know, when I got in the business, I said that I wanted to be a real estate agent, like for a lifetime, to my customers. You know, I wasn't looking for one transaction. I was more so looking for multiple transactions, but because of building relationships. And when I got into the business, I always thought that I would approach the business from the standpoint that it's a service that people need. It's a professional service that people need. So some people have financial planners, some people have doctors, lawyers, you know, a team of people that work for them and that they trust. And so that is how I approached the business. I wanted to be the realtor, and I had an article done in the newspaper. It was a realtor for a lifetime. She was a realtor for a lifetime. And so many of my customers I've had I sell them, I sell their parents, I sell their children, but it's because I care about people. And there are a lot of people out there that are making money, which is great, and they're not conscious about, and sometimes they don't have to be conscious because they're selling a product where they don't have to interact. But a lot of people, my main concern when I got in real estate, and you've known me all my life, and all your life, all your life, all your life. Yeah, certainly not all my life, but all your life. And I have just always cared about people. And so where a lot of people, when they approach a business, their concern is how much money will I make? And my concern wasn't that, because I knew if I did a good job that the money would come. My concern, do you know what my concern was? I don't know if I've mentioned it. Do you know? We've talked about it, but you probably don't remember.
To give the client the best experience possible?
Yep. Okay. So to give them, and that absolutely, that was at the top of the list. But my biggest concern and my prayer was that people see my heart the way they had always seen it, and my genuineness. And I was so afraid that real estate, people think of you as a salesperson, that people would think, people that didn't know me, that I was meeting for the first time, that they would think, oh, of course she's nice, she needs my business, instead of knowing that's who I've always been. That was the biggest thing. And I prayed, that was a prayer for me, that I prayed and said, God, let people know that I care about them before I care about their money. And I promise you, my customers, I've been in the business for 14 years, almost every customer in some way or form will say, this has been the best experience. Sharon, you are not just an agent, you're a friend, you're a counselor, we just love your heart. You care about people. When they say that, that means more to me than the check that I received, because it tells me they saw I cared about you. Yes, I'm happy to sell your house, but whatever they were going through, that I cared about them. And so I think for me, that's where a lot of my referral businesses come from. Working to be professional, to show up in excellence. That's on my card. I have this plaque that was made with that, but to show up in excellence for people and to let them know that you're just there for them. And I know a lot of real estate agents say, well, I'm not there to be your friend. I wasn't necessarily there to be somebody's friend either, but every person I've met, almost every deal I've had, there's a connection there. And so the connection is not about the business. The connection is that people know your heart. So I think when you show up as your best, even my first deal in real estate was a neighbor who lived across the street. And I had just gotten into the business, and that neighbor, as soon as I told her I was getting my license, I hadn't sold a thing. She knew I was just going through real estate school. And she said, you know what? We're going to save our house. So let us know as soon as you get your license. We're going to save our house for you.
Wow.
And the house was 1.3 million.
That's a good first start.
The house was 1.3 million. And I only say that to say, they saw something in me as a person that said, she can handle this. Nobody's going to give you their $1.3 million house if they didn't see that I walked in integrity, if I hadn't been a good neighbor, if I hadn't cared for them, if I hadn't just lived my life being the best I could be. And I think that's one thing that people miss, not only in real estate, but in life. Your character speaks before you ever do. Your character speaks before you ever do. And so people need to be mindful of that. If your customers see that you're a person who says that you're a real estate agent, but you're always partying and never working, do not think they're not watching that.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You're always at the beach. You're always doing this. You're always doing that. All because we're entrepreneurs and people are watching you. And you have to show up. You have to be mindful of how you show up. That is just huge. And I think that can take people, that can just take people a very long way, because everybody wants to work. When you start working with their money, or with, everybody kind of hangs out, but when they let you get close to them, your integrity and your character are at the top of the list.
No, that's truly all that matters. Oh my gosh. Aunt Sharon has given us so many valuable, keys over the course of this discussion. I just wish we could talk forever. But is there one last message you'd like to leave our listeners before we sign off? I know this has been phenomenal discussion, but I just think one last message for them.
If I could leave the listeners with something, I would say, especially during this difficult time of COVID and what's been going on in our country, just in general, is to remember to be kind to others, but more importantly, be kind to yourself. Like, I think, and this is a perfect example, we're going through a very, very difficult time with this virus. And a lot of people are becoming frustrated about being shut in, and you can't go places and you can't do things. And so everybody's wondering, when is this going to be over? When is it going to be over? Yep. Which is a natural feeling. But I would say to people, whatever profession you're in, if you're a parent, if you're a child, you know something, we have not had a pause like this in so long in our lives. And I know for me, with real estate, I am moving constantly, moving. And although I'm still moving, this is the first time in 14 years I've had time to sit down and truly structure a plan. You know, I've had time to sit down and think, wow, when I'm locked in, I wish I could go to the beach. You know what? I wish I had traveled more. But instead of being angry that I didn't, I'm coming up with my bucket list of, you know what, when things loosen up, these are the things I'm going to take advantage of. You know, if you were a painter and you liked painting, or you liked writing poetry, or whatever it was that you like, that you haven't been able to do because you've been taking care of the children, you've had to go to the job, then you had to go to the soccer game, and then you had to go to the volleyball game. Now, before we get back to that rush, hit the reset button for your life and decide what it is that you want to do, or that you wish you could do, or that you can improve upon. This is such a gift to be able to just stop and really go within and decide, how can I get back to knowing who I am? Because a lot of us have lost that, including me. Because when you're rushing, you forget what you like. You forget what you don't like. So I truly say, take this time to just spend some time with yourself. And instead of wishing that we get past this, as far as the deaths and all of that, absolutely, we wish to get past that. But you know what? Even with that, just decide, even when you can rush again, that you're not going to. You know, that you're going to show up your best, and you're going to give, whether it's your work day, you're going to give your best to you, to your family. You're going to give all that you have, but you're going to still carve some time out for yourself, because we have been so run down that we're not giving anybody the best of who we are. So take this time to find out who that is and what kind of things you can implement to make it better for you going forward. And that's just always growing, always continue to grow, and just always look for how I can do something different, and look for it in the simple things. Like just, you know, watching a bird or a butterfly. And I know all of that, again, sounds corny, but if you think about it, we get one thing. Like some people, they wait for that one trip every 5 years. Well, that's a lot of life to go by to wait for one trip. So I try to make every day a trip. I really do. I make every day count, because I don't know if I'm going to be here 5 years from now. I certainly hope to be, but every day has to count. So stop living for those special occasions, the graduation, the wedding, the new baby, whatever. There are about 10 things that happen in all of our lives. And I plan to be here 100 years. And if you're here 100 or even 50, to only wait for 10 things to make your life feel amazing is such a mistake, right? So every day, live your life to the fullest. And I know there's so many people that have lost it, and God bless you to those families that have lost people and loved ones, and just people all over the world. I pray for people all over the world that have lost people during this difficult time. And the best thing we can do for them is to honor them by living and living fully.
Thank you so much for that. Sharon Mills, who I love so much. I call her my Aunt Sharon, but I will link all of her websites and everything into the episode so you guys can connect with her, because she's a phenomenal woman, as you can see. But until next time, I'm Danielle Mills. This is Sharon Mills. Thank you.
Thank you.